Well, the US has admitted it. Let's move ahead, viewers, to the other story. We're tracking the big story. Republic TV has access and the reported details from the ED's petition filed in the Calcutta High Court alleging serious obstruction during raids on I-PAC officers at Pratik Jain's residence the previous day in connection with a money laundering probe linked to coal smuggling proceeds. ED claimed that West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee, accompanied by state police, entered the search premises, forcibly removed crucial documents and electronic evidence, and effectively confined ED officers by preventing them from continuing operations smoothly, amounting to criminal interference under relevant sections and law. The senior advocate Mahesh Jethmalani highlighted how the police allegedly aided in the document theft, calling for a CBI probe as the dramatic incident escalated tensions ahead of West Bengal elections, with TMC accused in the center of political vendetta. So, huge update coming in. Republic TV has accessed the ED's petition filed High Court. Remember that the ED had moved the Calcutta High Court, and they have asked for the key evidence which was taken by Mamata Banerjee to be returned. So this is one of the top updates that will be developing the entire day today, as we keep getting our viewers the latest updates which are coming in. We'll be soon joined by my colleague Shaman Sen, who will help us understand what can be expecting next, because the Republic TV has accessed the details from ED's petition file in the Calcutta High Court, alleging serious obstruction during raids on the I-PAC officers and Pratik Jain's residence. Coming to the backdrop of the dramatic visuals and dramatic developments that we had seen yesterday, where ED had searched the I-PAC office, and that is when we saw that ED has filed a claim of obstruction during the raid with the Calcutta High Court. Hearing is scheduled later on this. So ED officers were forcefully confined by Mamata. So these are some of the updates that Republic TV has accessed about what really happened during those raids. IPS officers charged ED with trespassing. So we get forcibly removed the crucial documents and electronic evidence and effectively confined the ED officers. I repeat, they confined the ED officers by preventing them from continuing operations smoothly. That is right, they confined the ED officers, and that stopped the operation from continuing in a smooth manner. And they said this is amounting to criminal interference under relevant sections and laws. We had spoken to Mahesh Jethmalani yesterday, and he also highlighted how the police allegedly aided in the document theft, calling for a CBI probe as the dramatic incident escalated tensions ahead of the West Bengal election. So a lot of drama has been playing out since yesterday, viewers. And the latest is that ED has also moved the Calcutta High Court, alleging CM Mamata obstructed an investigation and took away the key evidence in this case. So hours after West Bengal CM Mamata Banerjee's dramatic arrival during an ED raid, the residents of I-PAC chief and TMC's IT cell head Pratik Jain, the central probe agency, has moved the Calcutta High Court, alleging that CM obstructed the process and took away key evidence. And this is coming in the petition filed at the High Court. ED alleged that CM misused her constitutional power and entered the residence of I-PAC chief, where officials from the probe agency were conducting the raid. All right, let's go straight across to Shaman Sen, our Deputy Executive Editor, who's joining us. Shaman, if you could help our viewers understand, what does that petition say? Republic TV has accessed the details, and there's a lot in there which is quite revealing and shocking.
Well, in fact, after the unprecedented show that we witnessed yesterday in Kolkata, when the Chief Minister of the state, Mamata Banerjee, obstructed the enforcement directorate officers from carrying out their duties, they were essentially left with no other choice, but the central agency has essentially decided to knock the doors of the High Court in Calcutta. In fact, we've got the details of the petition that has been filed by the enforcement directorate. Let me quickly take you through some of the details of what is it that the enforcement directorate makes a mention of. One, it narrates exactly what really happened when the Chief Minister basically reached the residence of Pratik Jain. It turns out that the searches basically started a little after 6:30 in the morning, and the searches were going on absolutely fine till about 11 o'clock in the morning, when you had the local police officer there coming in and saying that they had received a complaint of trespassing. That's when the assistant director of the enforcement directorate essentially explained that these are legal searches under section 17 of the PMLA. And in fact, immediately thereafter, you've had a senior official thereafter coming in, Manoj Verma, the IPS officer of Calcutta Police coming in, once again obstructing the enforcement directorate from carrying out their work. A little after 12 o'clock is when the Chief Minister basically landed, and that's when things went downhill. In fact, the Chief Minister, along with her aides, basically entered the premises of Pratik Jain, and it turns out that they were literally threatened. That's exactly what the Enforcement Directorate has to say in the petition that has been filed, that their officers were basically threatened by the Chief Minister. In fact, more specific details are basically emerging, and if we can put this out. Now, the details with regards to the independent witnesses who were present there. These are known as independent punch witnesses who basically record the proceedings of the search premises. Now, in fact, the Enforcement Directorate in the plea that has been filed in the court, in the Calcutta High Court, they basically say that there was an attempt to basically intimidate the punch witnesses, and these independent punch witnesses were being threatened to basically make a mention that there was nothing that was found by the Enforcement Directorate when the searches were carried out. So what are the grounds under which this petition has been filed? Ground number one is complete subversion of the rule of law caused by the political executive, that's the Chief Minister of the state. Forcible theft and illegal removal of digital devices and documents, because the Enforcement Directorate has now put on record that digital devices, electronic storage media, key incriminating documents were forcefully removed, seized away, concealed, stolen from the lawful custody of the Enforcement Directorate officers by the Chief Minister, which basically amounts to theft of evidence, criminal trespass, destruction and concealment of material evidence. The third ground is search and seizure that were basically authorized under section 17 of the PMLA. That was also prevented. ED officers were prevented from carrying out their work. In fact, there was an attempt that was made by the Chief Minister to term this entire search as illegal and unconstitutional. But remember, this is a direct interference with Section 17 of the PMLA, where a state executive cannot perhaps sit there and adjudicate whether at all this is a legal process or not. And then you have, there are certain immunities that the ED officers have, that is under Section 67 of the PMLA, which has again been violated. There has been, and that's another big important, big news coming in, because the Enforcement Directorate says that there have been wrongful restraint and confinement of ED officers. They're saying that the ED officers were restrained, they were confined to a particular area when the searches were basically carried out. And as I pointed out a short while back, and I'm just reading out some details from the petition, that the independent punch witnesses who were basically meant to act as neutral safeguards ensuring transparency and legality of such proceedings, they were intimidated, they were effectively hijacked and made to write that the search was conducted in a peaceful manner. Now that's the big breaking news coming in. The Enforcement Directorate has made a massive allegation here. They're saying that the entire process was basically hijacked. They were forced to write that the search was conducted in a peaceful manner and that nothing was recovered. And more importantly, key incriminating documents were forcefully taken and from the possession by the Chief Minister with the help of the police force. Now that's what they've said. It turns out that several digital devices were also taken in, and the last important point that has been made in the plea is calling for the CBI investigation. In fact, the Enforcement Directorate says that there is a direct involvement of the highest political executive. There is abuse of police power, theft and manipulation of the digital devices and electronic device evidence. And that's the reason why the Enforcement Directorate is basically calling in for the Central Bureau of Investigation to step in so that a thorough investigation can be carried out.
That's right. Now the question is, Shravan, what next? Because we can expect more developments coming in. ED has moved the Calcutta High Court, and now we can expect that this story will be developing extremely fast in the next 24 hours.
Well, it all depends on how the Calcutta High Court basically takes into account the facts that have been presented before the court, particularly in the manner this investigation was sabotaged by the Chief Minister herself. Now, the fact of the matter is this, that the Chief Minister, just for the benefit of understanding of our viewers, literally entered an act of crime. It's a scene of crime. And that's where the Chief Minister basically entered, took away what the enforcement directorate essentially believes this was the evidence in the case. And remember, it will be almost 24 hours since she basically entered the premises and took away the devices. So what is going to be the authenticity of the devices itself in the sense that there is a high possibility that it would have been destroyed by now. The evidence would have been destroyed by now. So what would the enforcement directorate essentially do, even if the Chief Minister basically returns what she had taken yesterday? Because the enforcement directorate was basically acting upon evidence that was gathered over the last couple of months when they were basically investigating the coal smuggling case. And they believe, if you simply go by the petition that has been filed in the court, they are essentially saying that from the investigation that was carried out, they found out that hawala transactions had taken place. It started with the money, the ill-gotten money that they had got from the proceeds of crime, essentially, that was generated from this particular case, was being diverted. And the hawala transactions did take place not just domestically but also internationally, and this money was effectively used during the Goa elections. That's what the Enforcement Directorate claims at this point in time through this petition that has been filed in the Calcutta High Court.
That is right, and the story is moving very fast, Shravan, already. Republic TV is on top of every development. Taking a short break right now. Do not go anywhere. Coming up on the other side, Republic accesses the ED petition on Mamata filed evidence that Mamata took